The more you give, the more she wants. This is just plain fact with females and their nature, especially the modern woman of today. The more you give her is the more she's going to demand from you. So what's the solution? The solution is you as a man can't give these women today anything. I'm not just talking money. Obviously you don't want to give them money, but I'm talking more, you don't even want to give them attention. You don't want to give them free validation because that's all they want. Most women today are not only literal whores, but attention whores. And even those who aren't whores yet are still attention whores. They love the attention that they get from men, the admiration, the validation that they get, and they get it for free. A good example is look at social media. You got Instagram, Facebook, you got these women who have 2.5, 3 million followers, and all they do is have pictures of their butts and tits on there for profile. And they have literally over 3 million followers. Why? Because social media has fed the problem with females today. Social media has given women all this validation from men, and they don't even have to work for it. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to give women free attention. You want to make them earn your attention. Women operate much like a cat, the domestic pet many people have in their home. I personally am not a cat person. I don't like cats at all, but that's just me. But let's draw analogies from this parable. As women today operate as, the common household cat. Let's say we go to a get-together over somebody's house and they have one of these cats. Let's say there's 10 people in the room. 9 of them are cat lovers. 1 of them is like me and can't stand cats. So when the cat enters the room, the 9 people are going to shower the cat with attention and affection and say how cute it is, rub on them, and the cat is going to eat that up. But the thing the cat's going to do is it's going to notice the one person in the corner of the room who wants nothing to do with that cat. And then what that cat's going to do is it's going to disregard those other 9 people giving it validation because it already got what it wanted from them. And the cat's going to go and rub up against that person's legs who's showing it no attention. And if that person was anything like me, they'd kick the cat across the room. Well, that's how women operate. Take example, we'll do the same thing. We got 10 people sitting at a bar, 10 men. A woman walks in, you got 9 beta males, beta male orbiters orbiting around her, showering her with compliments, gifts, feeding her drinks, inflating her ego. But the woman doesn't appreciate that because today's women don't really appreciate anything because they have a mentality of entitlement, as if you owed them a thing. So if you owed them a thing, it's not possible for them to be thankful. But back to the analogy. So the 9 guys are sitting there showering the woman with attention, affection, validation, but she disregards those 9 because she's already got what she wanted from them. And she notices that one guy at the bar who ain't paying any attention to her, who ain't looking at her, who ain't giving her no free attention. And she actually will leave those other 9 beta males to go and sit by that alpha male who's giving her no attention. And do you know why? Because today's women, whether they're 5, 6, or up, they find it very odd when a man isn't showering them with attention and affection and Googling them, gawking at them, just giving them all this free attention. And it makes them feel uncomfortable, you could say. Because most women, especially the most beautiful women on the outside, are usually the most insecure, like supermodels. They always don't feel secure in their looks, yet they make so much money just off of their looks. So I'm reminded of the old saying, you can tell a woman 100 times she's beautiful and she'll never believe you. But you tell her once she's ugly and she'll never forget it. With today's females, you'd be better off telling them they're ugly, because then she would be thinking about that more. It would set you apart from the crowd rather than you being a beta male and giving her this free attention. So back to the analogy of the cat, how the cat will rub against the person not giving him any attention, so the woman will go and try to rub up against the man who ain't giving her attention. And we don't want to ignore women so they come and give us attention. We just plain don't want nothing to do with them. Because today's women, you can't be in long-term relationships with them. The best they're going to treat you is in the first 3 months, commonly called the honeymoon stages of the relationship. And if she's treating you good during those first 3 months, don't get used to it, because it's not going to last very long. The best option for men today is to avoid women altogether, but if you want to have relationships with women, make it short and sweet. When you notice she's disrespecting you, when she ain't treating you like she used to, it's time to ditch her, because it's only going to get worse. Because the longer you're with a woman, the worse she will treat you. And if you're a fool like I was, and I stuck into a miserable marriage 2.5 years, convincing myself, oh, it's going to get better, it's going to get better, it's going to get better. And do you know what? It never got better. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse. That's what you call wishful thinking. And wishful thinking is when you're believing for the best, but at the same time you're ignoring what's right in front of your face. I mean, if you're believing your wife is going to change, but you see no effort on her part for change, why would change come? It's never going to happen. That's a good example of wishful thinking. And after, literally after 2 years of a miserable marriage, I sat her down. I was like, look, the last year of marriage was a little bit better than the first, but that ain't saying much, because the first year of marriage was literal hell on earth. It started out all right, but like I say, after the first 3 months, and after I put a ring on her finger, then all of a sudden I was being ignored. It was like I was invisible in my own house. I was not appreciated, because the more I did for her, the more she wanted, and the less she respected me. So you don't want to give women today any attention. You don't want to give them any money. You don't want to give them validation. You don't want to stroke their ego. Unless you're an experienced veteran, then you can puff them up, so to speak, to pop their balloon later, at a later point in time. But most men ain't advanced at that stage, so they'll just keep puffing the woman up, puffing the ego up, showering her with compliments, putting a like in every picture she posts, leaving a compliment, oh, you're so beautiful, you're so beautiful. Well, way to not separate yourself from the pack, because that's what most men will leave, is, oh, she's so gorgeous. And the number one thing you do not want to do with a beautiful woman is you do not want to tell her she's beautiful. That's like going outside, taking a person outside and saying, hey, look, the sky is blue. The sky is blue. No shit. Like I said, if you really want to get into the mind of these women, don't tell them they're beautiful, tell them they're ugly. Then they might be pursuing you, because then they're off on a mission to prove that they're not ugly. But the reason we ignore women is because today's woman cannot be trusted. Today's woman is capable of anything at any time. You ask any man who's been divorced, it's like all of a sudden the woman just throws the crazy switch, and now she's absolutely psycho, lying, filing false police reports, doing literally everything she can, going out of her way to ruin the life of this man who literally was bending over backwards, giving her, the good life. Because you can't give today's women anything, because they don't appreciate it. And again, the more you give her, the more she wants. Women today are like a bottomless pit. Let's do the typical example of giving a woman money. If you give a woman money, give a woman money. I've never heard any woman in all my life say, oh, honey, that's enough money. You've given me enough money this week. I don't need any more. I've never once heard that, and I never will hear it, because that is not an option for women. Women, their whole goal is to secure a man. That way they can extract his resources, extract his money, extract his attention. A woman does not know how to love you as a man unconditionally. And a woman will never love you the way you need to be loved. So if you're looking for unconditional love from a woman, it ain't going to happen. You're trying to get water out of a dry well. Women only love based on conditions, and those conditions are what you can do for her or what you can provide for her. Always remember this: a woman doesn't love you for you, She loves you for what you can do for her. And if you stop doing those things for her, now all of a sudden she falls out of love with you, doesn't she? When if she was a real woman who loved you unconditionally, even if you lost both your jobs, your house, your car, she would still stay with you no matter what. But unfortunately, in today's biased society, men are entirely judged on what they can provide for the woman. If you don't believe me, look at the homeless guy out on the side of the road. Do you see him with a girlfriend? Do you see women trying to get with him? No. And the reason no woman's trying to get with him is because he don't have any money. He doesn't have anything to offer them. I'm sure he might have a dynamic personality, but unless he's driving a Lamborghini, the women today aren't going to take the time to get to know him. And even if he did drive a Lamborghini, they still didn't want to know him. They would just be faking it. They would fake their way to the top, so to speak. And then they would put in time. What I mean by that is I've overheard women, let's say a woman gets married, and after a year of marriage, she wants out. But she consults Big Mama. Big Mama tells her, no, honey, don't punch out now. Stick it in there another year. Wait until the assets and the resources build up. So, second year of marriage, they have a kid, they buy a house. She's like, oh no, don't leave now. Wait until 4 years of marriage, and then you can get more alimony out of them. So then she puts in the time. When the 4th or 5th year comes, now she's filing for divorce. And before the divorce is even official or cold, she's already in bed with another guy because she's monkey branching to the bigger, better deal. She's extracting resources from you while hooking up with another guy to secure future resources for herself. That's just how women are, and single mothers are the absolute worst at this. And that's why, again, the more you give today's woman, the more she wants. Today's women are never satisfied. Nothing is ever good enough. They're incontent. It's a mindset of incontentment where nothing is ever good enough. You can keep the house clean, work 2 jobs, pay all the bills, mow the lawn, crack her toes, crack her back, cook her dinner, put her kids on the bus, do everything, and she's going to find something to complain about, and then she's going to use that to cheat on you. And you don't want to get into a relationship with today's women because it's only a matter of time before they do cheat on you. It's called the Sex and the City effect, where because of that stupid television program and the Desperate Housewives and all this television is indoctrinating women to be whores, as if that's the cool thing to do, is to be a whore. Well, it's never been cool to fit in with the crowd and try to be like everybody else. It's a double message the television sends them, because they'll say on one hand, why don't you be an individual, be unique, be different, but at the same time, this is the latest trend, jump on this bandwagon. Well, how are you going to do both? You can't. And that's why today's women are more confused than ever before, and they're more unhappy than they've ever been before. And you as a man, your job is not to make a woman happy, because no matter what you do, it's not good enough, and she's never going to be happy in the long run. And do you know why? Because inside the woman herself, she's not happy. So if she's not happy on the inside, there's nothing you can do on the outside to make her happy. And your job as a man is not to make women happy. Your job as a man is to have a mission, have your mind set on that mission, follow it through. If the woman gets in the way of that, you need to ditch the bitch. I mean, plain and simple. Women are dream destroyers. They will destroy your dreams and then convince you that their dreams are yours, and then have you be a stupid slave to work to bring her dreams to pass. And if you do that, she's turned you from an alpha male to a beta male, and she's cheating on you, and eventually she's going to leave you. Women, they want the best of both worlds. See, they want a beta male provider to provide her with a place to stay, food, clothing, shelter, so on and so forth. But beta male providers don't get women wet. They don't turn women on sexually. So then she'll go out on ladies' night out, aka whores' night out, and get with 2 to 3 beta males, and Chad and Tyrone will have your wife bent over their couch, banging her like a drum, while you're waiting at the house for her. And then she shows up at 2, 3 a.m. You ask her, where you been? Oh, it ain't none of your business. No, actually, it is the man's business if you're his wife. If you're not his wife, it ain't really his business. But if you married the guy, you promised you would be sexually exclusive. Bringing me to another point. Today's women do not keep their promises. So if she promised you on the altar, before the preacher, before God, that she'll be faithful to you, she won't. Because today's women are always single. Always. Especially if you're not around. If you're not around and some random guy comes up to him and starts flirting with him, she's not going to say, "Whoa, back off, buddy, I'm married." No, odds are she took her wedding ring off when she left the house, put it in her pocket, and now women just gobble and absorb male attention and affirmation as a dry sponge absorbs water. So today's women are always single. That's why you can't be in long-term relationships with today's women. And again, the more you give her, the more she wants. It's like if you start to give her anything, whether it's attention, affection, money, love, you've just created a monster, because now it's going to demand more, 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 and it's never going to be enough. And if you bending over backwards, when loving her is hurting you, that's not love. That's her using you as a chump beta male for her own selfish purposes. So the point of tonight's video is that you don't want to give these women anything. You got to make them earn everything. Today's women act as spoiled little brats, spoiled little children. So they must be treated as such. Because if you noticed, today's women, when they don't get their way, they throw temper tantrums like, an 8-year-old, a 9-year-old. And then another thing you guys out there got to notice is make sure this woman who you're seeing, she doesn't have daddy issues. Because let's say, for example, her daddy started raping her at the age of 8 or 9 years old. Well, when that started, her mental state is frozen, and she still behaves mentally as a 9-year-old girl. So even though she may be 33, 34, if she don't get her way, she'll start screaming, pouting, kicking the back of the seat, and ignoring you, curling that lip, because that's how she's always done to get her way. So also, if her daddy was around, because if her daddy wasn't around, that's a red flag. But if her daddy spoiled the shit out of her, that's a whole nother red flag, because she's used to not only getting what she wants from men, but she's used to using her female attributes to manipulate men to get what she wants. The old saying, a daddy's little girl. So I know you men out there, if you have daughters, you love them, but don't spoil the shit out of them, because think of the guy they're eventually going to marry. And you're going to help them deal with a monster who's never satisfied. So if he does give her anything, it's never going to be enough. It's never going to say enough. Today's women will never say, "That's enough, honey, that's enough money." So again, the point is, the more you give, the more she wants. The solution, you don't give women anything. You make them earn everything. Don't ever compliment a woman. Don't help women. Don't come to defend women. Most of the time the woman was running her mouth being sassy, and that's why trouble issued. I hate how I see videos on the internet how, this guy abused a woman, and that's not right. And all they do is they cut past all the instigating the woman did to when 10 minutes later, when the man can't take anymore and he shoves her and she goes flying, and now she plays the victim card. They didn't show the 10 minutes before where the man's trying to get away from her and she keeps poking and prying and irritating and agitating him and even hitting him, and he doesn't hit back, and then he can't take anymore, so he shoves her down, and then, he's the victim. When if you've seen the whole thing in context, you would see the opposite view. But that's the problem with cropping video, cutting and pasting, and with editing video. So you always want to know the backstory, and that's the reason I upload these videos, is to give you guys the backstory back there. Because marriage is not what you've been led to believe. It's even worse than I can describe to you. Imagine the worst you can imagine marriage is and amplify it by 100-fold. And that would give you a more accurate description of what marriage is today in the society we live in. So again, Don't give women what they want, or she will never give you what you want. Always make sure the woman gives you what you want first. Because if she don't give you what you want, but you regardless give her what she wants, she's never going to give you what you want. And the reason why? Why should she? She already got what she wanted out of you. It's these psychological mind games that you have to play and understand today's women that just cause most men to go their own way, go MGTOW. And I don't got to deal with this crap. You know, the pussy ain't worth this price. So they put both middle fingers up and on their own way they go. And I salute those men. And at the same time, if you want to bang women out, you can, but don't be surprised if they change their mind the next day because you didn't call them, and then they me too you and claim you raped them, and then call the police officer and bring up your text you sent her last night and say, officer, this is when he came over and he raped me. And guess what? Now you'll be in cold cuffs downtown in a cell because you decided to deal with women. So the best solution, again, is to avoid women altogether. But if you can't do that, make your interaction with today's women extremely limited, and don't be afraid to be rude and crude if they start it. With me personally, if a person, whether it's a male or female, if they come off to me immediately as kind or gentle, then I'll reply in the same. But if they come across to me as an absolute bitch, I'm giving it right back to them. That's just how I operate, and that's just how you should operate too. You always have to watch your own ass today as a man, because men today are the villains. We don't even have to do nothing other than be a man, and we're guilty as charged. So that concludes this video of the more you give, the more she wants. And hopefully you've gained more insight into today's women and how today's women operate. And I will see you back next time for another updating Red Pill video.